Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the RuneQuest rules by Chaosium Incorporated. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. Strong language, mature scenes, and rune magics are on the way. As this is our Glorantha, we will remind listeners that it may vary from the one you already know and love. And now, on to the show. Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Old Ways podcast. I am your storyteller, Michael Diamond. My pronouns are he, him. And we are back with our RuneQuest 6 Seasons in Sartar campaign with a very special spotlight episode on Hillbase Stead. Two of our Heraborn come from that stead, and so we'll let them introduce themselves to my right.
I am Morgan, and I play Elara of Hillbase Stead, and our pronouns are she, her, and I worship the great goddess of the earthquake, Marangor.
Fantastic, Morgan. Thank you for joining us. And on the other end of the table.
Well, down here at my end, this is James, and I'll be playing the irreverent Fin. Our pronouns are he, him, and God damn it. And I worship the Uramal, the god Uramal, the trickster god.
Indeed you do. So we're going to begin with a little sort of calendar check-in, and we'll let all of our listeners know that this adventure takes place on Fire Day in Harmony Week in Earth Season. And for those of us who are listening who are maybe not yet gloranthified, as we might say, is what I want you to picture is very early fall. So most of the trees are yet still green. Some of them have yellowed a little bit. We're getting closer and closer to that fall and the bringing in of crops and a really, truly festive time for the people of the Vale who have been struggling of recent age to find things to be happy about. So we're going to look in on both of our players tonight at Hillbase Stead. So for the two of you, Hillbase has a pretty wide crop area. You're both very familiar with it, having had to tend to both some of the cattle, but then also you, Elara, especially the fields themselves. Your family are farmers, and it's a proud tradition among your family, and so you are totally in tune with this part of the year. You also know that a couple things are upcoming on the calendar for you, and one of them that's coming up in the relative near future, as you have been instructed, in a couple weeks, there is a holiday for Marangor on the calendar. And so that'll take place on Clay Day in Death Week, and it's sort of the preamble to the High Holy Week for Ernalda and some of the other Earth goddesses, including Babista Gore, including Flamal, including Israelia. Just a whole ton of them are going to come. But the cool part is Marangor gets her holiday first. And so you'll have a chance to hopefully commune at the Riddle inside your very private space there to feel the flow of the earth beneath and the fiery depths therein. But for today, on Fire Day in Harmony Week, you are preparing to take in the crop. This is sort of all the preparatory work that begins here. And you're sewing a few things together, meaning you're getting tools ready. Your parents are giving you just some common instructions to get the stead and some of its outer banks ready. Finn, for you, this has been a wonderful time because you sort of get, in this season, you sort of get let off the chain a little bit when it comes to your father, because he knows you're an apt fisherman. And as part of preparing for the stocks for the colder months, you are getting ready to pull more fish in to do fermenting. Plus, given the season, some of the river trout are the largest that they're going to be all year. And that's very appealing for you.
And if they're carrying eggs, then, I mean, that's the delicacy all over. I mean, we could even take, trout eggs in and sell them in the inner circle, to one of the merchants or one of the higher born. I hear they eat all of the garbage parts of the food.
Well, the inner circle representative, Vargast, of course, is not with us tonight, and that's okay, because he'll hear about this at some point.
He will.
But the two of you are relatively in close proximity. The field that you're working in, Elara, is somewhat close to the river that Fin is choosing to fish out of. And so you're probably no more than a couple 100 yards away. You have tanned quite a bit this summer, Elara. Your skin has taken on a really beautiful bronzing that is, well, it's pretty attractive overall. You look really good now with the tan. And more than a few of the steads, your potential suitors have noticed. No one's dared come up to you directly because many people are just very respectful of your space, given who you choose to follow. But that's okay.
Fin spends a good majority of the day as he's fishing, singing, and or shouting various nonsense things to help distract Elara from work when he sees her pass by.
Yeah, what's the weather like? It's a fall like season, so what, 55 degrees?
Yeah, it's probably between like the 55 to 60 range. You get a little bit of light wind. It's not terribly chill for someone of you who's born in the Vale. This is as pleasant, really, of a day as you've had in some time.
Yeah, and I'm sure the tan is looking great on my legs, where I've got all that gold etching.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
So I would like the two of you, as you're sort of in these relative close proximity, I would like you to give me a listen roll.
I got a 7 out of 40.
Okay, so with a 7, that's a special success. So I'll give you a little bit of additional information, but I'd like Fin to go ahead and give me his result.
Fin rolled a 87 over 35, yeah. So 80, what was it? What did I say? 87? Yeah, over 35.
So you do not hear it at all. You're a little closer, perhaps, to the edge of the woods, Elara. So maybe that's why you hear it just a little bit more.
What do I hear?
You hear the movement of the grass being pushed down. You're fairly in tune with the way the fields here work. And you know when someone's moving through the brush. At the edge of this tree line near where the field stops, you see a large 4-legged creature. It looks very furry. It's got 2 pointed ears, a long tail. And you're familiar with this type of creature, at least you've seen them around in some of the other steads. They're rare, but they do exist. And this is a shadow cat. Now, a shadow cat, size-wise, is like a lynx. So they're big by comparison to what we would consider domestic house cats. And it's staring at you from the woods.
Would you say medium-sized dog size?
Or bigger, yes.
Or bigger? Okay. But not quite like cougar or puma?
Probably not that big, no.
Okay.
Although you've heard a tale about one Orlanthe warrior that was always followed by their shadow cat, and that thing supposedly was as tall as Vargast is lying down. So really, really big. Maybe 150, 180 pounds. But that's a tale. Nobody really knows if that shadow cat is that big.
Legend. Well, as Fin doesn't hear it, he continues on with talking to Elara over the distant breeze.
And I look, I'm I raise my hand, and I mean, Finn is used to somebody giving him the hand motion of be quiet for a second. So
Yeah, he's probably actually tuned it out. But
it becomes white noise now.
Right.
Would I know if these shadow cats are people friendly or?
Yeah, so you would know that they can be. Like any other wild animal, they could potentially be approached. They could potentially be friendly, but there's a little asterisk there, which is they're a wild animal. And they do things that wild animals do sometimes, like eat. But this one, it does seem to be staring at you, and you can, now you're sort of paying attention to it. You hear it start to make this low mewling sound. Like it's vocalizing. It's not growling, but it seems to be moving its jaw forward and back and making this sort of sound. It's a low tone. It's a weak tone. And if you have animal lore, you can roll it.
I do, as a matter of fact, have animal lore.
Now remember, just for both players, remember that if you have a skill that I call on for you to roll, and you want to be inspired by a rune, you need to do that before you make the roll.
You know, I don't want to waste my inspiration on the animal.
Nope, you don't have to.
So we'll just roll and see what happens.
Sure.
So I get an 81 out of 10. So I know it's a shadow cat.
You do. You're not certain. The noises seem to give you the impression that it's a little worried or perhaps distressed. If either of you have beast speech as a language, let me know.
I do not.
Okay.
No, sir.
It comes out from the edge of the wilderness and approaches probably within about 30 feet of you, Elara. And it sits down and it just stares at you.
Yeah, I'll lower myself as well to appear less threatening.
It tilts its head. You're seeing this interplay, Finn.
More alarming is that Elara has not yet responded to any of the inane questions that Finn has posed, so he's starting to get worried. So he's going to head down up the river a bit to the next available crossing point where he has to wade through hip deep in autumn water.
Sure.
To cross the river.
You cross the river.
Yeah, he heads over and he's going to see if Elara's okay or needs help.
While you're heading over, the shadow cat gets up from its sitting position. It turns and slowly begins walking back towards the tree line.
I look back at the field to see how much work I've gotten done for the day.
A fair amount. You're a fairly steady worker, especially now that you have the gift of adulthood underneath you. You work likely just as hard and maybe not as effective as your mother or your father, but you are no longer sort of dawdling behind them or having to work twice as hard to make up for their extra size or maturity.
What were you looking at, Elara?
I hadn't noticed Finn come up next to me. Oh, Finn, don't scare me like that. Did you see that shadow cat? It's like walking away. I'm assuming still.
I see something over there.
It is still walking away.
You know, I get this feeling that it wants us to follow it.
Well, Finn gets an expression like, well, what are you waiting for?
Oh, Finn, it's been so long since we've had an adventure.
I know, come on.
I mean, gotten into trouble.
Oh, well, it's been so long since you've gotten into trouble, Elara, dear.
That's true. All right, I got enough work done for today. Let's go do this.
So the two of you begin shadowing this shadow cat, following it. And it goes from the field and tree line area deeper into the trees. And once it sees you, it just keeps a steady pace. It keeps moving back and back until you get towards some of the rocks that make up the veil wall. And without skipping a beat, this shadow cat hunches down just for a half second and then leaps onto a rock and then leaps onto another one.
How are you at climbing, Elara?
You know, I'm actually not too bad at it.
So I'm not going to call for climb rolls yet. We might get there. We'll see how it goes. But so far, the cat's not trying to outpace you.
Finn doesn't hesitate when it goes vertical.
Okay. The two of you continue to follow, climbing up the first couple of hills and rocks of the Vale. It actually, to both of you, in some ways, it feels kind of good. These are different muscles, and you get a little swept up in the adventure of it all. And so I'll ask the two of you, what is your highest rune?
Well, then my highest one will be fertility at 75.
Okay.
That would be illusion at 80 for Finn.
Okay. So, while I wouldn't normally, I am going to roll your fertility rune, Elara. As you're moving up the mountainside here, this is probably over the period of about 30 minutes, you get the really strong impression that Shadowcat is male. And it continues to make that sound every now and again. This sort of keening, mewling sound. There's this strong tone out of its throat. That's not a growl or a hiss or anything like that. You get to a couple of plateaus where things level out a little bit. You can see the midday sun has moved probably towards the middle of the afternoon now. And it's at this point that your shadow cat begins to move higher from these plateaus to what is a more traditional mountain which needs to be climbed. And so that is when I'll ask the two of you to make climb rolls.
Yeah. I get a 26 out of 50.
Oh, fantastic.
I got an 04 under 45.
Oh, that's probably a special. Yep, it surely is. Okay, so here's what's cool. The two of you keep pace with this shadow cat as it moves up. And all of us have experienced what it's like for a regularly domesticated animal to have fun. We know the impressions, the energy, what it's like when an animal is having fun in our own lives. This is something the two of you begin to experience with this shadow cat just in this little period of climbing. It seems to be testing you. And you're keeping up. Not only are you keeping up, but Finn, you're beginning to parallel its movements up the mountain. And it's looking you eye to eye as the two of you are exchanging different moves up these really rough and sort of craggy rocks that make up this side of the Vale wall.
For once, Finn lets his actual athleticism hang out and actually puts that 16 dex to use and begins really maybe showing off just a little bit because Elara is right back there. So
I think there's more than a maybe there. And for your part, Elara, it's not that you're not keeping up by any means. You are. But Finn is a fantastic climber. He's very agile. And it's easy enough to see that he's not all fisherman or funny man.
I mean, he's totally been working his glutes this summer.
That's true. The movement up the mountainside goes on for some period of time. You make it to the next plateau portion, and the two of you take a second, along with the shadow cat, to sort of take a breather. And right there, on one of these peaks on Crag Radius, the two of you get to see a sunset from this angle of the veil. And it's breathtaking. You can see the little plumes down below in the veil where the stead fires are. You can see all the way down to some of the gate steads that are there where they sort of make up the beginning of where your Heraborn people live. There's no way you would get this sort of vision down the veil except by being on this journey.
Yeah, I would close my eyes and let the warmth of the day coming to an end just linger on my skin and just feel the wind go through my hair.
Finn appreciates everything that's going on right now.
The journey continues into places where the trees have turned to pine needles. And now, with the sunset, there is a slight chill in the air. The shadow cat keeps moving. And as it does, there's a new tinge to the skylight. And that is the red moon that exists. Never far, you can see that illumination line, that dangerous sign of lunar presence in the far off spaces here. They call it the glow line. You're not technically physically close to it by any means, but you can see it from as high as you are up. And many scholar and trader have told stories how the glow line continues to move closer.
Like a burning vein in the world. Look at it, Laura. Can you imagine, you picture how easy it would be to just fill that whole valley with water? Wave your hand. Be done with it.
Or just, kill all the lunar army. I mean,
Finn gets a big grin. Oh, I don't think you understood how much water I was talking about.
All right, so why don't the two of you give me scan rolls?
24 under 35, sir.
All right.
and I got a 59 out of 40.
You see it, Finn. Something piques your interest. In the underbrush, you spot two small bear cubs. And the hair on the back of your neck stands straight up.
Stop and put a hand back on Alora's shoulder so that she stops too. Look there.
Oh.
Points to the cubs.
You hear thump.
We gotta go.
Thump. Bursting through the tree line, there is an enormous bear.
Well, poopy.
So here's how this works. We will step into strike ranks in a moment, but given the successful scan roll, I am going to allow you an attempt through either animal lore or beast speech to calm the mother. And this is an action either one of you could take, but not together.
Ooh, what is beast speech under communication?
It's a language, yeah, probably.
It's a language, okay. I do not have it.
So this is sort of one of the things that makes RuneQuest great, is that you can actually get trained on how to talk to animals, and they will talk back to you in beast speech.
That doesn't suck. I may have to pick that up as a language. What's your animal lore?
Well, my animal lore is 10, but I could use runic inspiration possibly to give the old gal a pat on the rump. Say we mean her no harm.
I want to see that.
Right. Little smack on the bum bum.
Yeah.
I would say if you, because we made it. Yeah, I say go for it.
Okay, so if you are planning on using runic inspiration, we'll follow sort of the same telltale signs, which are let me know what rune you want to be inspired by and why you think it fits this sort of current situation. And then I tell you whether or not I feel like that will work, because they are arbitrary. And then we go from there.
I would like to use my harmony rune.
Ooh, okay. Harmony rune, I like that idea. So in what way will you be trying to align harmoniously with this mother bear who's clearly seeing the two of you as predators for her young cubs?
Well, if I am carrying any weapons or anything, which I probably am carrying my bow and arrow, I would lay those on the ground and make myself appear as small as possible as to not... So she doesn't think I'm... She probably doesn't think I'm intimidating, but that I'm trying to mean her no harm, or her little ones.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. Like, as I'm picturing the scene, I don't really know. A bow is one thing. Like, you wouldn't carry it openly. You keep the bow slung and you keep your arrows ready, but like you're not going to have them in hand.
Okay.
You never said you took them out, so I can't imagine you're going to just like
have them whipped out.
Right.
Take them off. So then we can scratch that, and I would just make myself appear smaller, kneel on my haunches, show that I have nothing in my hands, in slow motion, no fast moves.
Okay.
Avert myself from staring at her or in her eyes.
You're kneeling, sort of supplicating to her, showing that you're not being aggressive, and you're calling on that harmonious feeling between you and nature to show that you truly mean her children no harm. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a mark of fate for you, and I'm going to give you advantage on this roll. So you'll make your runic inspiration roll, and you'll re-roll the tens die like you normally would in BRP, and you'll take the lower of the two values.
I got a 14 on that roll out of 70.
Okay. 14 is right on the line for special success, and so that'll mean that you'll add plus 30 to your roll.
Ooh.
And so you'll make an animal lore roll now plus 30.
Nice. That'll put me at 40, so I got a 78 out of 40.
Okay. You feel the harm that you feel yourself harmonized with nature. It's a very direct and grounding feeling. You feel it around you, and you feel it around Finn, and you feel it around the Shadow Cat, but you don't feel it extend to Mother Bear here. So she is not supplicated, at least by you. This, of course, Finn, does not mean that you cannot attempt some action to divert Mother Bear from attacking, but just so both of you are aware, it does appear right now that that is her intent.
Is to attack us.
Yes, because she feels like you are a danger to her children.
Right. Okay. Well, a larger danger to her children would generally get her attention away from us, as we have shown supplication and therefore not a direct threat. So, okay, so this round, he would like to use illusionary sound.
Okay, so you're going to cast a spell.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to be the sound of a very large, very angry, much larger and louder male bear.
Mm-hmm.
A bit further behind us, behind the cubs, and behind Mama Bear. So it sounds like there's a male bear coming up the path towards us.
Oh, okay. So what's the process then for that? So it's a rune magic spell, right? Well, when we get into rounds, which we're going to because now you're casting spells, the nice part about that is that, generally speaking, rune spells go on strike rank 1. So we might, potentially on how you roll, Finn, we might be able to sort of avert the rest of the strike rank tracker, which I think is your goal. What page is the spell on, James?
It is 331.
Okay. let's all take a look at it.
And actually, with the illusion spells, I think I can combine sight and sound to make complex illusions.
Okay.
I just have to be willing to spend the extra point. Like, as in, it basically becomes a 2-point rune spell. Yeah, up in the little box, the 6 spells below can be combined in any manner desired by the caster to create simple or complex illusions as desired, remembering that all uses of illusion are subject to the guidance of the game master. If any of these rolls fail, the illusion lacks that aspect.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
All right.
If you want to spend, given your small allotment of rune spells, but I also think this also shows like the intensity of the need. You do not want to be attacked by a bear.
I don't want to be mauled, and I more importantly don't want Elara to be mauled by a bear. And he is going to, so he is going to reach out with all his heart to Ermal and whisper, just let me trick Mama Bear.
Okay.
And then the sight and sound behind him.
So illusionary sight spell creates a visual illusion which registers upon light-sensitive organs. Each point of the spell covers a volume of size 3. One casting the spell can completely cover the size of a small child. If one point were used to create the illusion that an adult was covered in armor plate, only a portion of the adult would appear to be covered by plate. Okay, so yeah, saying you can basically cover it so much.
Yeah.
So I guess my question to you is, how many rune points are you spending?
I will spend 2 on sight and 1 on sound. So I will spend all 3 of my rune points right now.
Okay.
And can I use my illusion runic inspiration first?
Yeah, is there a role associated with this spell?
I don't think there is. I was just looking
I think
it
you
up.
just do it.
Yeah, I think I just have to be willing to spend the points.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have to use runic inspiration then, because it's not an if, it's going to happen.
Yeah, so the thing is then technically this won't go off on strike rank 1. It'll go on 2 because you're adding.
Yes.
Because you're adding to it. And so since you add to it, it does bump up. So Mama Bear doesn't get a chance to go until strike rank 7, so that does good. You're going to cast your spell on 2. Finn, I'd like you to take a little narrative control and explain your illusion to our audience.
All right. So behind Finn also drops to a knee as to be smaller next to Elara and provide less of a size threat to the babies. As that he knows exactly that's what Mama Bear is mad about. So beyond that, from further up the path is a loud of a bull, an angry male bear. It's old and gruff. Stories that his father told him about a bear that hunters took down years ago. All scarred and gnarly, coming down the path and looking like it's going to cause trouble.
Okay, I like that.
And as he's using 2 points of rune for sight, he's going to make this sucker large.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you're going to make a volume of 6 size, which is fairly large enough. Let's see here. Could be enough to make her move. So I think what I want to do here is I'd like a contested POW roll. And so, as we have before in previous episodes, we'll just remind our audience that we have scrapped the resistance table for the most part. It may come into certain aspects of it. We are going to just do this as a attribute versus attribute contested roll, like POW versus POW, like we would do in any kind of Call of Cthulhu game, because it's just another BRP system.
I have rolled a 16, sir.
Okay. Mama Bear's POW is not as good. So she has rolled a 70. Her POW times 5 is 50, so she has failed her POW roll.
My POW times 5 is 55, so.
Right. Yep. Okay. So you create an illusion of there being a bear, probably, if you'll let me massage this a little bit, 2 points of how 2 points, 2 room points in size would probably give you size 6. So what the mama bear sees is an enormous sort of old male bear head poking out from behind some bushes and a tree. You give it this really deep gravitas of a growl, and the mother bear spooks a bit and begins to run off in a different direction.
As the mama bear runs, Finn tenses up a little bit and puts his hand on Elara's shoulder and says, "Oh gods, now there are 2 of them."
You obviously, Elara, also see this bear head poke out, and it makes a sound. You'd, of course, also been... there's this heavy smell of garlic in the air. It's really pungent all of a sudden. Like somebody just shoved a bunch of garlic cloves in your mouth.
Start smacking my lips a little bit. Finn, what did you do?
Once Mama Bear is gone, I'll have the large old bear saunter out and come face to face with Finn and then dissipate.
It's actually just the bear head that comes out.
Yeah, and like front paws. six size worth of bear volume comes out.
Did she take her babies with, or are they still?
They followed her.
Okay, good. Because I would have to go pet one if...
Are you trying to die? Like, what's the...
They just have murder mittens. It's fine.
So after the bear head dissipates, the cat, the shadow cat, reappears out of thin air, out of a shadow from a bush. And it makes that same additional mewling noise. And then turns and moves, not up anymore, but further across the mountain face here.
With a slightly shuddery breath of relief, Finn gestures further up the path towards the shadow cat. After you.
I call up to the shadow cat. You know, it would have been nice if you would have helped us with that.
Or even a little warning.
As is fitting, you get no reaction from the cat. The 2 of you follow the shadow cat. It actually stops not terribly far thereafter. And you look down at where it's sitting, and it sort of looks over the side of the mountain face here. And you realize there's an enormous landslide.
Wow. Wonder if this happened during the last rains.
Of the 2 of you, which has the higher charisma?
What's your cha-cha-cha, lady? Mine's 11.
Mine's 17.
It would be old dynamite legs Elara there.
She's basically wrapped in gold at this point. It turns to you, Elara, and you hear that now same sound really far up close. And it sort of whines at you, as any animal could, and then looks back down at the rocks.
Do I see anything down there?
I'm going to have you roll your earth rune for me.
Okay.
That feels right.
Feels right for you. But for me, it's a 77 out of 65.
You look down. The rocks here, this landslide that's happened seems pretty fresh.
Did you say that I heard another of the mulings?
No, you heard it from the shadow cat. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Cat Whisperer, Finn hunkers down on his haunches and looks down into the ravine where the landslide was. Or is.
Oh, I guess, should we climb down?
The cat begins to.
Well, we climbed up with it. I suppose climbing down with it is just, it's pretty much the same thing. Finn starts hopping from boulder to boulder down, carefully, in case they're on loose ones.
Yeah, it's something that forces a climb roll, provided that you take your time. You get down there and you begin to see this shadow cat you've followed now for hours. Keep in mind, it's now dark. It's beyond evening, and you see it pawing at some of these rocks.
Well, I guess this is it.
Yeah, I'll try to pick up some of the smaller rocks
Mm-hmm.
and toss them aside.
Okay.
Finn doesn't hesitate.
Okay, so provided the two of you are going to help, I'm going to roll a d6. So a couple of things pass. One is time. 2 hours pass of you clearing rocks at sort of the behest of this shadow cat. And while I am desperate to say that all you find underneath is a ball, that's not the case. You clear rocks for some time. The two of you have to eventually put out a torch, like just for light, to see what's going on. And you, one by one, as a team, move these rocks. And you begin to slowly uncover the opening of a cave. When you uncover the cave mouth, you see another set of yellow eyes look out. And then 3 much smaller sets of eyes. And then this young, much higher pitched mewling sound. This little, like cat sound of cats meowing.
Finn pulls out some of the dried fish, offers some to Elara, chews on some himself, and then breaks a couple pieces up and tosses them on the ground for the little ones.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the mother cat comes out and begins eating. And the, now 6 baby cats sort of follow her lead wherever they go.
Finn sighs and pulls a whole trout out of his basket, just drops it on the ground.
It's a fat one, but you know that's what they're going to need.
You know your mother's not going to let me hear the end of this, right?
What's that?
Coming back with fishing all day, you spending so much time with me and then come back with such a small catch.
No, she'll be fine. I got plenty of work done in the field, and I'm kneeling down with some of the fish that Finn gave me and pss, 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 to the kitties. But Finn, they're so cute.
Yeah, the babies are not as wary of you as, say, their mother is, but there does seem to be a sort of mutual growling of appreciation between what you must be their father and must be their mother. The mother especially seems to almost try to get between you and her kids. She's not a huge fan of you touching them, but she doesn't prevent it from happening.
Finn shows her respect and gives them distance. Plus, he's a huge fan of having his eyes. And,
yes,
that could change fairly quickly with a wild animal.
The male, the father, strides back over towards you once the children and his mate are done eating. And he, as you're sort of kneeling down looking at, his progeny, you're at eye level with this shadow cat, Elara, and it sort of just begins to stare at you really intently, and it rubs its head and forehead and ears like on your neck hard, like 2 or 3 times.
I let it happen. I'm not gonna. I try not to show that I'm a little weary. I'm sure he can feel it though.
Sure, you can probably feel it.
Well, Laura, now you have 2 friends.
Oh, you and what are we going to call him? What are we calling him?
Papa. Clearly, that's Papa. Oh, and that would be Mama.
You're right.
These would be the little ones.
Yeah, I'll get up from kneeling and back up towards Finn.
Okay. With the spot opened up, the mother and father begin transporting their littles to a safer place to make a den. I have a couple of questions for our hill base characters. It's probably a good 4 to 5 hours back to the stead. What are the two of you going to do about sleeping tonight? Because you went off straight from the fields. There's no tent. There's no wineskin or water skin or rations outside, of course, the fish that Finn has parted with. And while the two of you are not by any means, babes in the forest alone, you are on the side of one of the largest mountains in Sartar.
Well, Finn looks around for not exactly a cave, because that's usually where things like snakes and shadow cats live, but perhaps an alcove of some sort that will shelter from the wind.
Okay.
And starts a fire, at least.
Both easily done.
I don't think we're going anywhere tonight, Elara. It'd be dangerous for us to travel. Hell, it was dangerous for us to travel as much as we did, but I feel good about what we did. Finn kind of stretches out next to the fire.
Yep. I think we did a good thing. Reunited a family. You gave them all a fish. Now we have nothing to eat. But it'll be fine. I will put my back up against the there's a tree or
there's probably a sort of 90-degree angle of rock that Finn has found as a natural windbreak. And then you probably have a tree somewhere close enough by that you could try to make that nook as comfortable as possible. Really, you just need to sleep for a few hours until it's a little brighter out before you head back.
Then I'll put my back up against the rock, and I'll pop my feet over Finn's legs. We'll sit so he can look one way and I can look the other, and I'll keep my feet warm by the fire.
Seems fair, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. We'll close this episode, this little look in, here on the side of an amazing mountain at evening after a long day and quite an interesting journey. So I want to thank both of our players, both Morgan and James, for having a little adventure with me and getting another look at many of the characters that will take place and live inside of our RuneQuest Glantha campaign. So to our listening audience, thank you so much. And we will see you next episode.